It's Mickety TV. And this is the Minnesota Vikings 2017 season, week number 4, game number 13, recap that was played against the Carolina Panthers at their stadium in Carolina. And the Carolina Panthers beat the Minnesota Vikings in this game, as I predicted, by a score of 31-24. Watching the game, I actually watched, I watched the first half of the game, and I kind of missed the second half of the game because I was a little bit busy. But I could tell in the first half of the game that the Minnesota Vikings were going to lose. And one of the things I noticed that they talked about that I didn't know, I didn't do too much research on last week, was that two of the Minnesota Vikings offensive linemen were injured and did not play in this game. One was Pat Elflein, and another is Remmer. I kind of knew Remmer has been hurt, and he hasn't been in the lineup for some time. But knowing that the center was hurt, I had a really bad feeling the Vikings were going to have a hard time on offense getting things together. And in the course of this game, another lineman got hurt for the Minnesota Vikings. So now their offensive line is getting kind of shaky, and that concerns me throughout the rest of the season. I'll probably talk more about this on Saturday during my Vikings prediction, and maybe a little bit more in this video if I have time. But anyways, let's go through some stats here first, and then I can just talk a little bit about the game. Case Keenum, not a very good game if you look at it. 27 of 44 on passing. That's not a good completion rate. 280 yards. He had 2 TDs, but he also had an interception. And he fumbled and lost that fumble. He had 5 carries for 40 yards. I mean, he had some good offensive stats, but those 3 turnovers is what hurt this team the most in this game. And in my opinion, that was the big difference in this game, was the turnovers. Excuse me there. Our leading running back was Jerick McKinnon with 7 carries for 46 yards. Latavius Murray, he didn't have that much playing at running back. There wasn't much of a running game in this game. I think the coach felt like they had to do the passing game a lot in this game, and I think that's what hurt this team, is that they immediately switched to a passing game when things aren't going good. And it's like you have to be a little bit patient. If it's early in the game, you're losing, still go with that running game. And they don't really go with the running game that much in this game. Adam Thielen was our leading receiver for 6 catches for 105 yards and a TD. Stephon Diggs had 6 catches for 64 yards. Our tight end, Kyle Rudolph, had 3 catches for 41 yards, 1 TD. Offensive line, like I said, they had a number of offensive linemen hurt, and I think this affected greatly last week's game too. I have a feeling that that during the game last week, Pat Elflein got hurt, and that's why there was a low-scoring game for the Vikings. And the offensive line did not have a good day today, or on the game on Sunday. The offense gave up 6 sacks, 9 tackles for losses, 6 passes defended, and 8 QB hits. That is not good. And that has to be reined in. And somehow, I don't know how that's going to happen. I'll probably talk about it a little bit later. But they have to rein in their offensive line and figure out a way to get these guys who are in there for injuries to gel real quickly. Otherwise, this team may go down quickly and in a hurry. And it could be quite possible if the Vikings lose their next 3 games, and finish the game with a 4-game losing streak, there's still a possibility they might not make the playoffs with a 10 games or 10 wins under their belt. So all they need to do is just win one game, and then they're in the playoffs. But then again, they could all lose the rest of their games and be out of the playoffs. So I mean, basically, it's in their hands getting into the playoffs. All they have to do is just win one game, and I don't know. I don't know if they can do it. We'll see. On defense, our leading tackler was Linval Joseph. He had 10 tackles, 3 of which were solo, 1 QB hit, 1 sack, and 1 tackle for loss. He had a pretty good game. Very busy for Linval. Andrew Sandeo had 9 tackles, 6 for solo, and 1 interception, along with a tackle for a loss and a pass defended. So he had a pretty good game too as well. Eric Kendricks had 9 tackles, 1 of which was solo, and he had a QB hit. Very active again, as usual, with Eric Kendricks. Trey Waynes had 5 tackles, all of which were solo. And then Everson Griffin, number 97, had 5 tackles, 2 of which were solo, 1 sack, and 1 tackle for loss and 2 QB hits. So he was in on the action a lot against Cam Newton. Unfortunately, our defense gave a lot of points, but a lot of that, I mean, I'm looking at the stats. Time of possession was fairly even. The Carolina Panthers had like almost 3 minutes more than the Vikes, so that's almost 50-50. The turnover battle is what killed us. And when you have 3 turnovers compared to the other team's 1, that puts a lot of strain on your defense. There's only so much you can ask of them to do in a game. And they should step up if they want to be the elite defense, but it's very difficult to do when you have a short field and you're throwing back on the field immediately when your offense, turns over the ball. So very difficult game for the defense. Our kicker, again, he missed the field goal, 3 of 4. And the thing I looked on the stats was his longest field goal was 30 yards. So it's like, what's going on with this guy? He can't kick a field goal more than 30 yards away. He kicked a couple 50-yarders earlier this year, but now he's inconsistent. He was 1 of 1 for extra points. So on this game, I'd give a B for the special teams, maybe a C+. It's not totally on his shoulders in this game, but a field goal is always nice to have in the pocket if you need it. But it comes down to this guy right here, basically. Mike Zimmer, the head coach. I haven't talked much about him recently. I know most of you know my opinion on Mike Zimmer. I don't really care for him for a coach. I don't think he's that great of a coach, especially when it comes to adversity. And in this game, there was a lot of adversity, and he didn't overcome it. And that's why he's not a great coach. He's an all right coach that can maybe get you 10, 11 wins in a season. I'll be shocked if he gets 12 or 13 this season. I'll be really shocked if he does it. But he's at best maybe a good regular season coach, but when it comes to playoffs, he sucks. Granted, I think he's only been in 1 playoff game, but even then, he really majorly sucked. I don't know if this guy's up to the challenge of tackling adversity on this team with the offensive line having problems with injuries and such things like that. So that's what it's going to come down to, is this guy right here. The last 3 games of the season. Is he going to be able to step up? He should win at least 2 of the last 3 games of the season. He should. And the last 2 of the 3 games of the season are at home. Those home games are winnable. Question is, will he be able to win those home games, or will he lay a big turd when it comes to stepping it up and handling adversity? We will have to wait and see what happens till the end of the season. Or maybe next week. Maybe he clinches the division. Then it's a whole new ball game and a whole new topic of discussion to talk about next week. Whatever the case may be, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.